do the gimmicky, cute name that people are like, oh, the content, the name, I get it. Oh, that's clever. And then once tried, tested, and proven, then it's the Melyssa Ford show. And
But
I'm
you
So
know
my
and
what?
question
But
is
my
though,
last thing on that, hold up, Dory. My last thing on that is
and then
you
we
could
got to
have
get to the
named
white
it.
people.
You could, yeah, definitely. You could have named it anything in the world, and your audience was still gonna call it the Melissa Ford podcast. Like, I loved the name of my first podcast. I'll name this podcast later. I thought it was the
Me
greatest
too.
name
Me too.
ever.
So
But
clever.
then everybody was just like, "Yeah, that Joe Budden podcast." It's like, okay, so we'll go with that.
But
Like,
so, but that's what I, but that's, but look at that, is your audience designated that before you did. And that is what I want the audience to do. I want them to be like, yeah, it's the Melyssa Ford show. I forget the name of the,
Girl, we already
thank you.
doing
Thank
that.
you.
We already
Thank
doing
you.
it,
Thank
Mama.
you.
but
And I
I
appreciate
will
that.
I
Hmm.
will say that before this space and where you were able to kind of express yourself, I was a little confused as to what the content of your podcast would be. And I know that you just explained that with your previous podcast, the I'm here for the food, and even with that genius tagline where you said you're feeding minds and all those things. I'm curious to know, like, do you have one for this hot and bothered, like where you can kind of have a succinct description to kind of let people know what they're tuning into? Because previously, like you said, with the menopod, I thought it was a little bit alienating. I was going to tune in because I knew it was going to be fire, but I didn't really know if it was going to be about menopausal topics or like what specifically like we were going to dive deep into. But I'm
Hmm.
kind of wondering, and I know that you had to explain it earlier in a great way, but I was just wondering, like, do you have like a tagline or a succinct description now with the hot
Hmm.
father?
We're That's what I'm doing right now while I'm in Atlanta with the team. I'm shooting some episodes, but we're also like getting together all of the copy. We are rewriting everything, because you're right. The menopod, even though I was like, I'm passionate about it because it's my current lived experience, and so
Right.
I want to speak to those women, but I really, really felt very
Cornered.
concerned, cornered, but
Mhm.
concerned about alienating a part of my, fan base and audience that has been with me forever, and that's the men. And also, I enjoy talking to the younger demographic of women because I wish that a me existed when I was their age, to come and tell them what to do, and what to expect, what's coming down the pipeline, and to help them make decisions about their lives, or give advice, or or whatever the case is. So I felt really funny about alienating those two core pieces of my fan base. So, to me, this was just logical. Like, okay, this situation is really getting gnarly, not working out, no problem, all yours. I'm pivoting like fuck over here. And this makes me feel so, so light, because this feels like I'm what I'm supposed to do. This
Exactly.
feels organic. This feels like what I am supposed to do. And I feel it in my heart and my soul. And so when I want to write all the copy from that perspective. This is coming from my heart and my soul. This is the tagline. This is the log line. This is the one sheet to solicit guests. This is the deck. This is the mission statement.
Exactly.
This is the
Yes.
mantra. This
This is
is
what I
what
was
people
looking for
Yes,
sure.
this is what people are going to, they're like, okay, I'm watching this show because this aligns with what I want to see. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm not I'm my podcast is not to talk about pop culture, because I do that on Joe's pod, and there is a million pop culture podcasts. That is not what I want to do. I want to deliver compelling content that is really evergreen, that can sit and just and marinate and still be relevant a year from now. You know what I'm saying? Because I want this to go the distance, and so I have so many ideas as to the kinds of guests that I want to interview, and the content that I want to deliver to you guys, so all of that is literally in like the planning stages. So this is part of the rollout. And unfortunately, because of all this other stuff, the rollout looks a little chaotic. But from my standpoint with my team, nah, it's right on track.
Yo, Mel, I got a question for you. As someone
Mhm.
who's had a design taken from them or interpreted uh, by a bigger brand, to have like your name someone else maybe have that name previously. I know it's not the exact same name, but do you feel a way for them? Like, do you feel bad at all that maybe they feel upset? Like, does part of you feel like, man, like, does
This
Okay,
anybody
is
really
trap.
care or
This
no?
is trap.
look. There is 6 other podcasts with the same name. Like, I don't understand why these fucks think they invented the wheel. They did not. They took a fucking phrase that was coined in 1920 to talk about what? Women going through menopause. What the fuck are we talking about here? And these are two 20 somethings in LA talking about their dating lives. Go ahead. I don't care. We are not going to be delivering the same content, so we can have the same similar name, but it's different because it's with Melissa Ford. That is the difference. That's the significant difference to where our audiences will not overlap. Trust me when I say my audience does not give a fuck about what you're talking about, and your audience probably doesn't really give a shit about me. And that is fine. Can we all just be and play well in the fucking sandbox together? Look, let me give you an example. And I do not want to, I'm not dragging my friend into this, but it's just such a perfect example. My girl Roxy started a podcast called More to the Story. And if you haven't watched it, you should, because fucking Roxy is fucking amazing at what she does. That girl is talented as hell. And she's going to be a guest on my podcast, and I'm going to be a guest on hers. Her show is called More to the Story. Google how many shows are called More to the Story. There's like 11. And I know she's not dealing with the harassment that I'm dealing with and the accusations of thievery and stealing and whatever else. Like, what the fuck? And that's
I think
another reason. That's another reason why Homegirl did what she did, because she could lean into that narrative because she saw what was happening on my fucking page with this other podcast calling me a thief and blah 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 and stealing. I'm stealing. You even stole the concept. How can I steal the concept for your show? I'm not 20 something and I'm not white. What the fuck? And I'm not going to be
Well,
talking about you dating in LA. What?
wait. All right.
Go
I
ahead.
think having the same name is not the same as stealing a name, and people are kind of playing into that. Oh, she's a thief or she's not a girl's girl aspect of it by kind of